Greetings, folks. Welcome back to the Jason Damico Show. We are here via Zoom, as we have been for about the last 10 or 15 episodes. Thank you guys so much for tuning in or listening in. And our guest is a Raleigh, North Carolina native, recent transplant to Nashville, Tennessee, and is the drummer percussionist for the band Delta Rae. He has traveled the world with Delta Rae since 2009. Has performed on Conan O'Brien, The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, and The Late Show with Seth Meyers. When not traveling with Delta Rae, he teaches private drum lessons, records for various artists, and conducts team building programs with his company, Drum Team Collective, and his partner in Baldman Percussion. Home of the award-winning percussion product, the Junk Hat. We'll get more into that in a second. He proudly plays Ludwig drums, Remo drum heads, and Vic Firth drumsticks. That is some good company, my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mike McKee.
It's the crowd going nuts.
So I hear them all the way from wherever there's a social gathering somewhere else in the universe.
My security detail is taking care of it, so I'm safe and sound here. You should see the line of people outside. It's nuts.
They're not keeping 6 feet.
No, they're not.
No, they're breaking the rule. It's good to see you, my friend. Last time was at that little impromptu jam session conducted by Jason Adamo, and he dragged in. That was a treat for me. I had a real good time playing with you.
That was fun, man. And that was my last gig in Raleigh as an NC resident. So that was like literally we moved the next day. The truck was in the driveway.
Yeah.
And, did that gig. It was a kind of a see you soon.
You guys, you're in Nashville now.
Yeah.
How is it as far as the transition?
Well, we got here. We were kind of couch hopping for a couple of weeks while we were looking for a place, and Delta Rae had we did a music cruise while we were here, so took a little break back and forth. And then a couple of weeks into us looking for a place to live, the massive tornado hit East Nashville.
Right. And
demolished a lot of great small businesses. And the area that it hit, unfortunately, is like the hub of young business owners and venues, and it's just like the coolest spot, and it got hit really, really bad. So we got the town kind of got kicked in the pants, and then as we were trying to figure out the recovery process, then this COVID-19 stuff hit.
Right.
And it's a music city, it's a tourist city, and all of our jobs revolve around people gathering. So it's been a really weird transition, to say the least.
Yeah. We were supposed to shoot a couple of scenes in a movie that I'm working on, and that was back. Those scenes were beginning of March, and no telling when we're going to be able to go back to Nashville.
Yeah, we'll see. And my wife's company is also in the event space. We moved here to be closer to the event world.
Right.
And so, it'll bounce back, but it's just rough timing. It's just a chapter in the book.
Yeah.
Not the entire book.
That's a very, very wise way of looking at it, for sure. Well, we got a lot of things to cover here. You have quite the resume. And
it's funny because I don't have a resume. I don't have one.
Exactly. Well, the credentials are quite long, and you've done a lot. I want to start with your beginning stages as far as how you got into drums and percussion.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody's really asked you that question. They probably have, but just curious to see how that came about.
Most people ask me about my bodybuilding career, so it's not usually about music, but how it started was, honestly, it's kind of a typical drummer story where, a friend plays guitar and you don't have a drum set, so you make one out of household objects.
Right.
And so my first drum set was my trumpet case, my mom's guitar case, a pan lid, and a couple other random objects. And I got all the different tones of the drum set out of it, and it was functional. In fact, my little garage band we had a demo recording of some songs that we wrote, just a goofy just terrible little ditties that we wrote. And we used my little makeshift drum set. And then mowed a bunch of lawns and a lot of babysitting, and eventually just kind of Frankenstein a drum kit together, and the neighborhood band thing. And then it just kind of grew and grew and grew. So it's a pretty standard story of like
Right.
piecemeal and get your buddies together, and the band would come and go. But my brother Mark and I were always playing music together. So we were like kind of the common thing up until just a handful of years ago. We were the kind of the common thread of all that. We were always making music together one way or another.
And you said trumpet, so you were playing trumpet before drums?
Technically, yeah.
Okay.
That's about all I can say to that.
Right. I tried it for a couple of weeks, and it really didn't pan out too well. I got about half a taps out, and
right. And
it just wasn't my thing.
And it was taps for your trumpeting career. But both my parents are professional musicians, so we all grew up playing piano, and so
right.
it's all in our bones, that stuff. So yeah, and then it kind of just took off from there.
Major influences for you during those early years as far as drumming?
Drumming would be Weezer, the Blue Album, Tom Petty, Wildflowers, the Joshua Tree, GU2.
Yep.
And it's funny. A lot of drummers are like Rush and Yes, kind of the more complicated drum stuff. I would listen to that and be like, ooh, like it's not like I didn't like it, but it just didn't do anything for me. But the meat and potatoes stuff, I'm like, oh, I can do that. I gravitated towards the simple stuff because I could do it easily, and I'm very impatient, and I was a terrible practicer. So I was like, all right, I can do that. Great, we got it, cool. Versus like studying and actually trying to nail a difficult part. I'm more wired that way now, but back then I could just not my jam. But yeah,
interesting.
Grunge music, that jangle pop stuff, loved it all that night. Yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask you, that was way down on my list, but I'll bring it up now, which is you've kind of already answered the question, which is basically when we were jamming, for whatever it was that we were doing, 20 or 30 minutes of blues, whatever we were doing at the time, just such a consistent voicing behind the kit. I've played with a lot of great drummers. You're obviously up there as far as consistent, like just so damn consistent. And my question was whether that was on purpose from the beginning or not, making those choices in your practice routine in the early years. And yes, would probably be the answer, even if you weren't.
Probably it did. I appreciate the kind words. I appreciate it. It probably did.
Inadvertently, maybe.
Honestly, like to fast forward to a few years ago when we were in some recording sessions, and I got my ass kicked pretty bad. I took myself back to school musically and started a new practice routine that was focused on just time and very, very simple stuff, and getting back to the fundamentals. And then it went back to a different recording session, and did much better after kind of beating myself up. So, your musical development should always be going up.
Right.
You're going to hit plateaus and stuff. Early on, I definitely was extremely arrogant, thinking that I knew what I was doing without practicing enough. And it takes getting your ass kicked a few times by older and more established people to humble you and say, no, get yourself in gear and really ready to practice.
Right. Yeah. Been there before, and we'll be there again.
Yeah. Same.
Any specific routines these days as far as mechanics, and if you wanted to elaborate a little bit on what you're doing?
Yeah. I'm assuming that a lot of your listeners are musicians, so I'll get a little bit techie.
Sure.
But there's a couple of drum books in particular that focus. Drumming is really sticking, meaning your right or left hand, or left or right foot, and like rhythms. So those are your kind of tools to work with. And so there's some certain books. One is called The New Breed, where you sing different things as you're playing, very simple patterns and then complicated patterns, but you're tricking your mind into like, it's like doing this while riding a unicycle and telling somebody a math problem or, you know, whatever. You know, it's like getting your brain to work in different ways while you're doing a consistent backbeat. So those are the kind of books that I'm drawn to, are the ones that challenge you to do things way outside of your comfort zone while maintaining a backbeat, because you're just going to be doing this on 2 and 4 for an hour.
Right.
And the other favorite thing I'd like to do, and any musician can do this, any instrument, is you live with 1 BPM, 1 beats per minute, for an entire day. So let's say you start at 40 BPM. It's going to be like, right? And then you're just going hit with that, right? You can subdivide a little bit, but then eventually take those subdivisions away. You can do it on the piano, on guitar, whatever. But eventually, what will happen is that you're playing your scales at that slow BPM, you're going to be fighting it. And around the 17-minute mark of living with that, something sinks in and you can live in that BPM for a while. And then you kind of almost can't mess up while playing within those wide lanes of meter.
Right.
And the next day, 41. Do the same thing. Next day, 42. It's mind numbing, but it really helps.
Yeah, I remember back when I was. Were you at 2112 in the early years?
I mean, that's the toy store in Raleigh. That's my hang. Love that place.
Yeah. So from 98 to 08, Merritt Partridge was my teacher, and we used to do weird things like that. Like he would put on Van Halen mixed in with a metronome at like 100 instead of whatever that song is, like 140, whatever. You say, all right, play 100 while Panama's in the background. And he was like getting me in tune to that stuff at 11, 12, 13 years old. And I remember it being very difficult at first, but then you just kind of learn how to tune it out, and really it's a whole other animal.
Yeah. I took from Merritt growing up as well. And cool. Then when Delta Rae, we're about 5 years in, we were touring heavily, and I just went back to him because I was experiencing some severe hand pain. Yeah. And I went back to him and went back to school. I took a few lessons with Merritt as an adult, you know, professional drummer or whatever. Yeah. It's always okay to learn more. Yeah. He's great.
Well, that's cool that we have that connection. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had time in Incredible Pocket, very consistent feel, multi-genre. You know, before we get into Delta Rae real quick, obviously before you got with the band, I'm assuming you were playing multi-genres.
Yeah. Trying. Yeah, like with Delta Rae stuff. My world is, I mean, if you could summarize what I do, one of my favorite things is 90s jangle pop stuff.
Right.
You know, that's where my comfort zone is, the Jim Blossoms, REM, that kind of stuff. But I'll venture out. I had a little jazz combo I worked with, and it was just me kind of hacking away a little bit at some jazz stuff. I had a 90s tribute band that funded my original project. It was like college age. I had a cover band. We did all 90s stuff, and that funded the original music, which was kind of the time, kind of Coldplay, Augustana, kind of piano-driven rock stuff. So, but yeah, pop rock genre is kind of my comfort zone. I haven't really veered too much outside of that, but it's a big umbrella. It's a really big umbrella.
Well, so I guess we'll merge into Delta Rae then. Going on 10 years with them, right? At this point.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Went by really, really fast. I remember when you guys came out, I was still in high school, and right after I got out of high school, there was Bottom of the River. Mm-hmm. And just remember seeing that music video. I was like, man, this is something else. This is really cool. It's rootsy, but it's still modern.
Yeah.
And I went back. What was that?
Well, that song started out only a cappella, no instruments at all. And it would bring the room around. Like when we were starting out, no matter who you are, nobody pays attention to you. And we were playing our set at these, like, you know, coffee shops or whatever. And then as soon as that song, me and the bass player would leave the stage, we'd play that song. And then everybody's like, oh, now we're listening.
Right.
I got to play something on this, but it's not going to be a drum thing. So I spent months just trying to figure out what the hell to play for that song without being intrusive, without playing for the sake of playing. And then I witnessed a drummer messing around with some junkyard stuff, including change. Like, I think that's That's the sound.
It's chains in like a, what is it, like a barrel or something?
The trash can.
The trash can.
Trash can, and then about 3.5 feet of thick chain. Mm-hmm. And when we fly around the country, we use backline, renting equipment, stuff like that. Everywhere we go, we have to request trash can and chain. But around the country, there's probably 30 Delta Rae trash cans and chains in these warehouses around the country. Whenever we go back to San Francisco or LA or whatever, they're always like waiting there for us.
That's hilarious.
But anyway, you were talking about Delta Rae started 10 years ago, and
no, I mean it's all relative, because I was gonna say, like, walk me through that process of perhaps getting involved with the group. I read somewhere that you guys, I think it was like a debut concert at Duke back in 2009, 2010 ish.
Sure. Yeah. So I was doing, part of being a musician is you do a bunch of odd jobs in the genre or in the world of music stuff. So I was running sound for a production company. I was doing monitors, and it was for a frat party at Duke, and it was for Mike Posner and the Brain Trust before he got big. And Eric, Delta Rae's keyboard player, was the keyboard player for that group. And so I came up to him and said, "Hey man, if not this thing, but I like you a lot. If you ever need a drummer, I'm a freelance dude. I'd love to work with you. I think we would have good chemistry."
Right.
And he held on to my business card for a couple of years. So fast forward, Delta Rae, just the four singers had formed, and they realized they needed a rhythm section. And Eric was like, "Oh, a few years back, I met this guy at a frat party that he was running. He was a monitor guy." And so he messaged me and put a video of Delta Rae, the four singers, singing a song on my Facebook page. My wife saw it before I did, and she goes, "Hey, you need to audition and nail this audition for this band. Don't mess this up." And so I worked hard and rehearsed the songs that they had available, and
rest is history.
Weaseled my way in somehow. Yeah.
Well, I mean, 10 years at this point, almost over a decade, I guess, right? Going on 11 years. And
it flies by, man.
I'm kind of, when I look at what you guys have done, and it's so great, North Carolina talent coming out of the Triangle. Some of the highs and lows, anything come to mind that you want to?
Amazing highs and amazing lows. Like, we've almost broken up several times.
Wow.
Due to less due to interpersonal issues, even though we have a boatload of those, like any group will, because you're married to a whole bunch of people.
Right.
But honestly, like, the industry stuff is really weird. I mean, the people are great, but the machine of the industry is designed to really help the people at the very top. And just the way that the construct of record label contracts, by their very nature, who owns the masters, meaning the actual music, it's the people at the tippy top, and they own the masters. And just that detail, which is the whole thing, you get some money up front, you get to create the art, they own the art, and they're lost without the artist. But oftentimes at a young age, you're lost without them, because they have the money and the connections and yada yada. So it's it's like there's no clear-cut answer whether you should always be independent or always sign with a label. There's upsides and downsides to both. When we were signed with Warner Brothers, first of all, we passed on our first offering from them. They offered us a developmental deal, which was not good. It just wasn't in our favor, and they counter-offered with a legitimate, actual, enormous, thick 40 pages of record contract with several options, meaning albums.
Right.
And the highs and lows were with them. I mean, it was amazing. We got to do some incredible things and meet some amazing, life-changing experiences, meet some amazing people. But then we also got to experience the turnover at labels. So your champions there, you got your team, good. And then one by one, they go into other vocations or change labels or change teams or whatever. And then in comes somebody else who's maybe a bean counter and doesn't know Delta Rae, doesn't care. And you become less of a priority and less of a priority. And so when that happens at different levels of the label, whether it's the project managers or the CEO, we experience turnover on all of those fronts, and the president too.
Right.
So we were just feeling that we were feeling like it wasn't the right fit for us anymore, and we weren't getting enough guidance. We weren't getting enough A&R, and we decided to leave. And that was a huge ordeal. And we got out. And then next up was Big Machine. And by happenstance, our old A&R at Warner Brothers, like I said, there's a lot of turnover. He happened to be at Big Machine, so it was like, hey, neat, cool reunion.
Right.
And he helped kind of shepherd us with that whole thing, was our shepherd for the recording process. And then Big Machine also got to experience some amazing things and see firsthand the ups and downs of the music industry in a more concentrated way, because they're more country music focused. But it's the same kind of turnover, the same kind of politics, the same kind of stuff as at Warner Brothers.
And now you guys are independent.
Yeah, so in July, we announced that we were going to leave Big Machine. Serendipitously, it was the same time that Taylor Swift also said she was going to leave Big Machine. So there was this surge of vitriol, or, I mean, it was a surge of like energy towards her, and then vicariously we were kind of swept up into that also. So when we launched our Kickstarter campaign, a lot of the Taylor Swift fans helped generate that into something even more substantial.
Right.
Yeah. They didn't know who we were, but because we were leaving the same label that she was leaving, therefore we were friends or something.
Yeah. Association,
There you go. So we got lucky there. But the fans really came through. So yeah, we launched a Kickstarter. We asked for $30,000. We raised $451,000. So it changed our lives forever, gave us a second wind. And was because we were debating whether or not to keep going as a band, because Big Machine, when we left that, we didn't have any money, we didn't have any art, we couldn't put out an album with them,
right.
And we exhausted ourselves doing this experimental thing called the Delta Rae Revival 2 years ago in the fall, 16-week residency where we took over a venue and turned it into a haunted chapel with interactive actors and things like that. This big elaborate thing we did every single week. That cost us so much money.
Right.
It was artistically very satisfying, but exhausting and it's very expensive. So anyway,
it's usually how it is.
Yeah, right. So after when we left Big Machine, we were like, okay, so Universe, what should we do? Should we keep going? And it was like, we were told ourselves, if we raise $30,000, let's make one more record and then call it, because that shows that there's not enough energy. But we raised, within the first day, we were at $100,000 from the first day. So
wow.
The fans really came through. The Delta Rae diehards really came through. There's this group of amazing fans that are just the lifeblood of what we do. So really cool.
And now The Light and the Dark.
Yeah, so we're going to put out 2 records. We put out the first one called The Light, our first album to ever hit the Billboard charts. Just found out today we're hitting 1 million streams on Spotify. It's been out just a few weeks.
Awesome.
So it's going really, really well. And we can't tour on it. Can't tour right now.
Right.
We were supposed to be in Boston this week. So that's really heartbreaking, is that our best piece of work and can't tour on it. And The Dark is we're about halfway done. We're going to finish that this summer and put it out Q1 of next year. And damn it, we better be able to tour then. So we'll call it the Light and Dark Tour. Who knows? Maybe do 2 nights per city and do a light show and a dark show. Something like that.
Oh, that'd be yeah.
Be creative.
Cool concept.
So yeah, it's a weird time to put out something that we're so proud of. But hey, at least we did it on our terms, with nobody pulling the strings. Everything you see is us. All the photos, all the direction, all that stuff is just us, and it's been a labor of love for sure.
I think it's a great concept.
Thanks.
Well, we'll see what happens with the touring schedule. What are your thoughts? We talked about it at the beginning of the episode and the interview, but as far as, your personal thoughts, if you want to dive in a little bit on the COVID situation, how long this is going to last for. I mean, everybody's trying to have a crystal ball with it. I honestly, unfortunately, think this could go all the way until the end of the year with just the way things are. But your thoughts?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. We rescheduled for July a bunch of shows. Those are still technically on sale.
Okay.
But I know Taylor Swift has canceled her tour for the rest of the year, and there's a few canaries in the coal mine in the industry out there.
Right.
I'm curious to see what the NFL is going to do. I'm curious to see. There's some larger infrastructure things like a Taylor Swift that company or other acts and things are kind of looking to them to see what are they going to do, because their infrastructure is significantly bigger than ours.
Right.
But you know, you take, we're literally the band, we meet every day. We're taking it one day at a time. Meeting with our agents and stuff. And but I'm not gonna. I mean, I think the time of speculation it's just I don't know.
Yeah. Me neither.
I don't know. What I'm doing is we're all doing is pivoting and seeing what we can do online. And I think we're going to see a fire hose of great art, because these artists are cooped up and they have to create. And no matter what, artists are going to create. And there's going to be some really cool things in the tech space. I think that things like Twitch, which is an online platform for people to watch video games, I think something like that. I think a lot of creatives are going in that direction, and being able to stream concerts or some kind of an interactive thing. This is what we're doing with Drum Team. We're about to pivot in a big way. And we can maybe pivot to Drum Team.
Of course.
In a minute.
Yeah.
But I think that the word, I know I've said it 5 times now, you can hear it more, but pivoting when a creative person is handed something, and it doesn't work, they're going to either fix it or figure out a way to leverage it into their favor, whether it's in business or in music or whatever. But we're all in this together, so there's going to be some massive last time pivoting.
And before we move on to Drum Team and Baldman Percussion, while we're still on Delta Rae, just talk real quick about your guys' creative process on this last record, as far as how that went about. And
yeah,
you know.
So there's the 2 primary songwriters in the band are the brothers Eric and Ian, but their sister Brittany did did some co-writes on this one, which is cool to hear her voice with that.
Cool.
And there's a couple of other writers from the Nashville area that did one of the songs, "The Wrong Ocean," which was pretty cool. So, but as far as the writing, the creative process, usually it'll be the brothers will bring something like a verse and a chorus, or sometimes just a chorus, to the band. We don't really rehearse anymore. I wish we did, but we don't. But when we are together, we'll kick over the thing. We'll kind of just jam on it. And sometimes it'll go like, we love it, we feel a chemistry there. Or it'll be like, nah, I'm not feeling this one, and just kind of move on. But we'll kind of throw it out there. And then after a couple of rounds, it'll be like, I think this is a Liz song, or somebody might raise their hand like, I think this is a me song. Very little is it, or very few times is it like, I'm going to sing the song, period, no matter what. It's very like,
right.
I think the song usually lets us know where it needs to go.
It sounds kind of like what happened with the Cars, between Rick Ocasek and Ben Orr.
Yeah.
Rick wrote everything,
right,
but they would just try them out, and then like Drive was obviously Ben won that one, and
there's a bunch of Delta Rae songs that like have had multiple singers on it. Chasing Twisters was originally one of Ian's songs,
right?
And then our first time we ever performed it live was at Hangout Fest for about 20,000 people, and we didn't have a bridge for it. We had basically it was verse chorus, and that's what we had. And we were about to go on stage, and we were like, let's just do it, let's just try it. I'm like, okay. And we turned it into a Liz song. So every song's different, and we try to let the song kind of dictate where it wants to live.
Well, that's a great process. You know, letting things breathe.
Yeah. And there's songs, dude. The song "Burning in Carolina," which is the opening track for The Light. That song, we performed that for the first time. I want to say 8 years ago.
Mm.
You know, and then it never lived. We played it once, we're like, out, and then it just sat on the shelf, and it wasn't a Delta Rae song for a long time, and now it is. So
Yeah. Well, let's segue into Drum Team Collective and what you guys are up to.
sure. So when the band signed with Big Machine Records, because it's a country label, the normal thing was the band, and in the country world, meaning like the singer and like a guitar player, go on radio tour. So the 4 singers for Delta Rae, no rhythm section, we did a big radio tour across the country, basically kissing hands and shaking babies with these
Right.
radio programmers. And that means I was off the road for about 6 weeks, and I was going completely bananas because I love to tour and I go stir crazy. So
Yeah.
I had this, without getting into too many details about it, I had this idea. I was asked to do a big drum circle, which I don't do. And I was like, well, how about we make it a little more interesting? So I said, what if we take drum set, explode it, and I'll teach people because I know how to teach drums. I can teach people one part of the drum set at a time, have them play a drum group, and then bring in a musician, a guitar player, and we'll do a little jam session, and they'll be playing parts of the drum set. And it was a total experiment. It was with Underwriters Laboratory, which is a big international company at the Outer Banks. And it was I had no idea what I was doing, but they loved it so much, they thought I'd been doing it for years. And I'm like, nope, this is the first time of ever, maiden voyage. So the event planner said, hey, this is brilliant. If you want to do more of these, package it up, polish it up, and let's talk. So I did just that and made a little bit commercial, and we were off to the races. And I got a business partner involved, and we've worked with Red Hat, Cisco, Burt's Bees, IBM, Wake County Public Schools, like big and small, nonprofits, and then the most for-profits. And then we had our best month ever in February of this year. And then COVID just
Right.
everything. So we were on a trajectory for a gangbusters year, but we bring, like, the last event we did with that Lincoln Theater with 70 people, 70 drummers.
Wow.
Theater. It was amazing. So anyway, this happened, and I was like, crap, what are we going to do? So I thought of the word quarantine building. So bought the domain, and I figured out a way to teach drums, and it's going to be people doing household objects like this, right? And then I superimpose drum sounds over that, and I have a song written for those companies about being in quarantine, and then Brady Bunch style, they're playing along.
Right. Cool.
So the beta test is complete for that, and about to launch a very short promo for that. Probably, what's today, Monday? So I'm hoping by the end of this week, the social media is going to see my quarantine building little clip. I don't know when this video is going to come out, but anyway, yeah. So that's the pivot for Drum Team, and we will. And one reason we moved to Nashville was to bring Drum Team Collective to Nashville, because you get real life rock and roll in Music City. So,
Right.
but for now, we're going to be remote and continue to generate awareness of the Drum Team brand, but it's just going to be a little bit different.
Was your entrepreneurial flair always there, or is that something that was more cultivated during your time with Delta Rae and the on and off seasons with touring?
That's a great question. I think it was. That's the question I've always wanted people to ask me, because this is the way it is. It's always been there, but it was never watered. The seed was always there, but it was never watered. Not by anything bad, or it was not a bad thing. But when Delta Rae started, we were 24/7 for about 8 years. I'm not exaggerating that much.
Yeah.
It was crazy, especially the first 6 years. None of us were married. Well, I was married, but 2 of us were married. None of us had kids, and we were all living in the same city in Raleigh, Durham.
Right.
We toured constantly, and Warner Bros. Was in LA, so we were either in LA,
Right.
or on the road internationally. just constantly. And we were working all the time. So if I had an idea, there's nothing, I couldn't do anything with it. There was no time. I get home from an 8-week run, and then I would have 3 days, and I got to go to Napa Valley for 3 days. Like it was constant. So fast forward to that 6 weeks with Big Machine. And it's not like I had other ideas that weren't gonna, that I was like, okay, maybe when Delta Rae takes a break, I can do this. It wasn't like that. I just wasn't thinking of anything, but I did have that 6 weeks of freedom. And that's when basically Baldman and Drum Team came out at the same time.
Well, let's get into Baldman then as well.
It's a terrible name for a company.
But it sticks. It's easy to remember.
It's easy to remember. I love absurdity.
Right.
I love the absurd, because life is very serious, but life is also very silly if you think about it. Everything is very silly what we do, day in and day out. So this is kind of parallel to Drum Team doing its thing.
Sure.
I've been obsessed with. I'm obsessed. I still am with gear. I'm a gearhead. I love musical instruments. I love weird musical instruments. I used to work in a music store, and every year I wanted to go to NAMM, the National Association of Musical Merchandisers, just look at the gear and just drool over it. And I always wanted to have a product. This was like, since I was 13, I wanted to have a thing that I made that I could sell to people. Loved it. So Delta Rae, our flagship single for years, Bottom of the River, I played Big Chains on a trash can, but that occupied 2 hands. So we had another song called Hitch a Ride that I wanted that sound, but I was on the drum kit. So how do I get that? So I had one hand playing the floor tom, the chains, and one hand, it's like, this is stupid. So I rigged up a piece of plywood and another piece of metal and just looped up some chains, put on a hi-hat stand, like, great, it works. I get the sound with my feet, my hands are free to do my drum set stuff, while my foot can do the chain thing. And it was hideous looking, but it worked. So I would travel with that, and Danny Young, his band was opening up for Delta Rae on tour, and he walks in the room with his gear, and I see, oh, it's another bald drummer. We're going to get along just fine. as drummers do, I say, as soon as our sound check was done, I go, dude, come check out my gear.
Right.
Toys, hey, come look at my toys. And then he's like, what the hell is that thing? I was like, oh, that's thing. It's like a chain metal contraption, but it sounds kind of cool. And he goes, dude, that sounds awesome. I'm also a woodworker. Can I make a cleaner version of that and use it on my gig? And I'm like, yeah, sure, knock yourself out. So he does, and we're texting each other back into this after the tour, texting each other back and forth, like, oh, cool, I see what you did there. That's awesome. His band, he was with Van Tominski, this very incredible singer-songwriter. They're on the Colbert Show, or the Stephen Colbert Late Show. He brings his more polished junk hat thing.
Right.
And Joe Saylor, the house drummer for the Colbert band.
Colbert, yeah.
Still Human or something like that. I forgot the name. Should remember it. He ran up to Danny and was like, dude, what the hell is that thing? I love that. That weird chain metal thing. So then Danny's like, dude, you like this thing. I like this thing. Joe Saylor likes this thing. Let's see what we can do. And so I'm like, oh, this is the opportunity. We can make these things and sell them to some friends. So we made a batch, and it took about 9 months of trial and error, some really bad versions of heavy wood, light wood, all that kind of stuff. So it took us a long time to get there, and then we filed for a patent, and we're almost done with the patent process.
Takes forever.
It's awful.
Yeah.
And then so one thing led to another, and I was like, I want to be a brand, not a product. So we're not called the Junk Hat. We're called Baldman Percussion presents the Junk Hat.
Because
so
there's always going to be more.
I don't want to paint ourselves into a corner.
Right.
And only make one type of thing. So anyway, so we have more ideas down the road, but yeah, so we're in 18 different countries now, and we won a best show at NAMM. So my first time at NAMM was with my product, which
nice.
Was really yeah, it's a blast to work on, and we're we have laser engraving now. We just sold one with laser engraving just a few minutes ago.
Cool.
They customize them, and we released a big version of the XL. And again, once this quarantine is over, we're going to get together and work on some more products and stuff. But unfortunately, the quarantine screwed us because we had a lot of international sales, including South Korea, China, Japan, Taiwan, all which are getting hit massively. So once this blows over, we'll be back in business.
Exciting stuff.
We're still making them and selling them, though.
We'll have all that information in the description boxes. But go ahead and real quick while we're on the subject, if you want to tell anybody where you can find more information or purchase or check.
Yeah, so for Baldman Percussion, for it, honestly, so musician, like you don't have to be a drummer to really to appreciate it, because if you're a producer, an engineer, it's a great tool to have in your tool belt. It really, really is. I know a lot of producers that are just gaga over it. The Sonic Ranch, this big studio in Texas, bought 2, just so they can have them in their different rooms. My favorite drummer in the world is Matt Chamberlain. He's a studio cat, and he bought one, and then he used it so much that he had to get a replacement bottom part for his. He's like, I used it so much, I broke it. I need another one. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, baldmanpercussion.com is where you can get it. You can get it custom engraved if you want. You get your name on it, your band's name. They make great gifts. They really do. And you don't have to be bald to play it. That helps, though. And then for drum team stuff, if you go to quarantinebuilding.com or to drumteamcollective.com, you can find out what we're all about.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you real quick before we kind of start wrapping things up. You know, you said touring and you love touring.
Yeah.
I do too. Just any like, I ask this sometimes, and I think it's appropriate now. Best/worst gig experiences. If you had one of each that you could kind of elaborate, reflect back on.
Sure. Well, I'm actually repping my favorite club, the 930 Club in DC. It's the best. So every show at 930 Club is my favorite show. I love it.
Right.
Best experiences. We were lucky enough to go to the Middle East. The band was with U.S. Navy Entertainment to play for the troops. And we went to Bahrain, went to Djibouti, Africa, and we hung out for a couple of days on an aircraft carrier.
Wow.
In the middle of the Gulf. So that was life-changing, playing on rough equipment in August, and it was during Ramadan. So hot, dude. It was unbelievable. And just, I don't come from a military background, but getting to experience that for a week and a half, it really opened my eyes up a lot. And I really appreciate what the folks are doing over there. It's really remarkable.
Yeah.
It really is. So that's a career high for me. Just a life-changing experience. And we hope to do it again. We really, really do. And lows would not be a Delta Rae thing. It would be one of my gigs early on probably in high school. We played for an Ethiopian book drive where people were gathering books. And we were promised a big crowd of people, and there were about 7 people maybe. And we were promised a good paycheck, and we got paid with a participation award, like a ribbon. So that was a bit of a bummer of a gig. And then there's been some Delta Rae gigs that were, playing in off markets when we found out, like, oh, there was just like a storm or something like that. Just, there's so many things that come into that to make a great show happen. Whether it's weather, if there's a football game, like if you're in a college town, the football game, it's out.
Yep.
And but I will say this: my '90s tribute band was called The Buzz. This was when I was in college. This was the cover band that would pay the bills for the original band, because original music doesn't make any money.
Right.
And we all know we did the cover gigs to pay the bills. So we were called The Buzz, and we were set up at this place, this venue, and they were like, oh, ticket sales are really bad because I think people thought y'all were called The Fuzz, and The Fuzz is a terrible band, and they're really, really bad. So I think they got the name wrong or something. And then it was at the same venue too, where the police had taped off the perimeters of the club because there was a chase and nobody could physically get into the club. So that was we played the sound guy that night.
That's pretty bad.
My brother and I in particular, we've talked about writing a book of bad gigs through the years.
Should do it.
I mean, and it would be fun actually to reach out to other artists because everybody has stories. I'm sure you have.
Oh my God. Yeah. And that's why I asked the question, because it's like,
yeah,
it's just so great to hear everybody else's experiences.
So we should do that. We should, because you definitely have a good Rolodex now of musicians and doing this show. That'd be fun to compile.
I think you're going to be probably numbers. I don't know. Well, it depends. We may push you up a little bit more on the schedule for that. You were saying that release date, or there's something going on with drum team.
You don't have to. No, I appreciate it, but release whenever you.
Regardless, it's going to be we're 50 plus episodes. Yeah, we're 50 plus episodes in. So yes, there's definitely some crazy stories that have been told.
Yeah, that'll be a fun project of like the gig horror story book. It's very short, just like short little anecdotes.
Right.
I love talking, especially old salty musicians like myself. Like they're going to be extra. Also, they'll be exaggerated because they're like the big fish stories. But yeah.
Well, I was going to ask you real quick. You guys collaborated with Lindsey Buckingham. He was featured on "If I Loved You," and what an incredible lyric. Who wrote that?
So Ian wrote that one.
Okay.
Yeah. And usually the brothers collaborate, but I think that was all him actually.
Okay.
So unfortunately, we didn't actually get to meet Lindsey Buckingham in person. So what happened was our producer, Rob Cavallo, we cut the song at his studio, and because we had to tour so much, we were remote producing and remote stuff. So like if there's an overdub that needed to happen, it was one of his house guys that had to do it because we can't go from Columbus, Ohio to LA tomorrow, so because we were on tour so much. But he lives in Calabasas, which is where a lot of well-known musicians live, and he's just friends with Lindsey Buckingham. So Lindsey was over at his house and he's like, "Hey, what are you working on?" And Lindsey Buckingham always has a guitar or something in his hand all the time. He's always playing. And Rob goes, "Well, I'll show you the song that I'm working on by this band called Delta Rae." And then Lindsey's listening and literally playing along on this 8-string weird instrument. It's like a big mandolin called a Griffin. And he's just kind of playing this counter melody along. And then Rob's like, "That sounds good. Can you go in the booth real quick and record it?" He's like, "Sure." And so he just plays along. And he's like, "That works. Can we keep it on there?" He's like, "Yeah, sure." And he technically had to get paid union scale. So we got like a $300, $400 check for the set of, 1 hour session.
Just for a session.
Yeah, just for a session. To be on the up and up, he had to get paid for it.
Right.
So yeah, Lindsey Buckingham got paid union scale for to be featured on our song.
That's
but
hilarious.
We found out we went back to Rob's house a couple of weeks later, and he told us that story. Like, "So do you guys know who Fleetwood Mac is?" And we're like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
"Do you know who Lindsey Buckingham is?" Like, "Yes, absolutely."
Yeah.
And he goes, "Well, he was just over here a couple of days ago," and we're like, "What?
Right.
And he's playing, and now he's on your record.
That's
and
great.
Our jaws were on the floor. So yeah, never got to meet him, but maybe one day. Maybe one day.
We saw him. He played a solo show. Well, it was solo. It was a combination of him solo, and then he had his band, but he was obviously on the marquee, guy. Just him, yeah. And wow, yeah. My dad and I went and saw him. It had to have been at least 7-8 years ago. I think it was at the Carolina Theater. I think it's in UNC or whatever.
Yeah, that's in Durham.
Durham. Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Like easily one of the top 3 best shows I've seen. And that theater, it's not crazy huge, maybe 900 or 1,000 it was perfect. It was amazing.
Yeah. I love that room. That's one of my favorite places to play for Delta Rae.
Yeah, I played there once. I can't remember what it was for. I know it was with my trio back in the day. Sounded great.
Yeah, this is a great spot.
Well, speaking of rooms and gear and whatever, I've got a little thing I like doing at the end. Well, towards the end, where I got one more major question for you. We'll ask that after this, but
Okay.
it's just called the Shootout Section, and I'll just say a word that's industry related or instrument related to what you do, and you just fire a word back, first thing that comes to mind, and there's no judgment.
Give me an example so I don't mess this up.
Well, you can't see that. I wish I could give you an example, but there's no possible way you can mess it up.
Okay, fire. Oh, you'll be surprised. Oh, watch this. I'll mess it up. No, okay, fire away. I'm ready.
Sticks.
Oh, Vic Firth.
See? Look, flying colors.
Okay.
Snare.
Superphonic.
Woo!
Yeah.
Kick.
22-inch maple custom Ludwig.
Yeah. Do you use any muffling at all, or?
Yeah. I'm pretty. I mean, I'm a lead foot guy that doesn't bury the beater. So like
you and I both.
Yeah. So yeah, I have a pillow in there.
Right.
It's muffled pretty. It's like our sound guy likes to make the kick drum sound like hitting a baseball bat up against a punching bag.
Yeah.
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 That's what we want.
Maybe a little gate on there too, or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Toms.
I'm a Ludwig guy, man. So I like it. I mean, a 13. The best setup is going to be your 22, 13, 16. The Ringo.
Yeah. Was that also kind of a Bonham thing, except Bonham was like 26?
Yeah, Bonham's a 26. Well, it depends on the setup, but I think it was 26, 13, 16, 18.
18.
Have some drummers listening to this. They're going to be like, what are you talking about? It's a blah, blah, blah. I'm pretty sure, depending on the setup, it was 26, 13. It might have been 26, 14, 16, 18.
Right.
It might have been a 14. I guess it depends, but I think it was a 13.
I've seen videos with the what do they call that? The clear. What do they call those clear Ludwigs?
Acrylic ones?
Acrylic.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Vistalite's a series.
Vistalite. That's it. I think he does use a 14. I mean, I'm not gonna bet my life on it, but that thing looks pretty huge.
Yeah.
It's like Vinnie Paul or something, you know. It's like freaking.
Love it.
Yeah. Cymbals.
I love. Gosh, I'm so torn because I'm not like a stickler for brands. I mean, I was a dream cymbal artist for years, and they make
great.
They make amazing cymbals. So, but one of my favorite ones I cracked is an 18-inch vintage Bliss. I love that cymbal. I'd put it up against any content.
Yes.
So, but I mean, all the brands have great things in them. But right now, I'm playing some old Zildjians and some couple of Meinl pieces, but mostly some Zildjian stuff. Yeah, I love their Constantinople line. I mean, they're amazing, and their Karope line is also to die for. What do you like?
Well, I've been a Peisty guy for because for my major influences were Stuart Copeland and Alex Van Halen, so it was like all Peisty people.
Yeah,
but I got turned on to because I was doing a lot of jazz gigs in high school, and I was at some music store in New York City. I can't remember exactly which one. This was back like middle school, high school, and they had some Bliss cymbals, and I could not believe.
Yeah,
I could get a whole set for one like Zildjian custom old. Ride.
Yeah.
I walked out of there. I've still got the 22-inch Bliss like crash ride, the 20-inch crash ride, and then the 14-inch hats. And they are just so amazing for that jazzy fusion light kind of folky, you know,
Sure.
very wide.
They definitely do a thing. They do a thing. And
Yeah.
I typically lean as quiet as possible for cymbals. I think the cymbal mix should be drums and cymbals. So anything quiet, I like.
Right. Interesting. Yeah. As from the engineering standpoint, yeah, if you look at the way my faders are, the overheads
Oh yeah,
and the cymbals are definitely more.
yeah, oh yeah.
Peisties are loud as hell, man.
They can be.
Very
Can be.
shimmery, you know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Stick
Yeah.
out in the mix. All right,
Yeah.
so percussion.
Percussion. Homemade. That's the word. Because I think drummers, unlike other musicians, the nature of our instrument is piecemeal. It's a drum kit. It's like no two drum kits that are like identical. As far as like even if it's the same setup, one person sits his snare drum a little higher, one person sits her floor tom a little lower. Like it just it's a hodgepodge of an instrument, and that's what makes it really fun. And one way to make it unique is to just make shit up. And one of my favorite drummers is Aaron Sterling, and he brings an ironing board to every session, because when you hit this ironing board at a certain place, it sounds like a trashy snare drum, but if you sit it under the mix with your snare drum, it gives a little bit of girth and like a little dirt to your snare drum. So we're all just, I made my toys growing up. I was that kid that I never played with Legos, but I would pick up a stick. I'm like, now this is a gun, or this is a whatever, and it's just still to this day, like, drum sets bore the hell out of me. So why not like mess with them and do things to them that they're not supposed to, but there are no rules because it's drums.
Right.
Yeah.
There's never any rules.
What's that?
There's never any rules.
Not really. If there are, I mean, I'm sure there are. I don't know them, but
you and I both. Junk hat.
The first word that comes up, passion. It's a passion project, and I love what we've created with that. And it's fun, and what I love is that it's not a gimmick.
Right.
It's useful, and there's a lot of drum products out there. The other side of like, hey, toys, make it up. There's all that, fun stuff. The other side of that is there's a lot of bullshit. There's a lot of like things that don't really matter. That's clearly a money grab. And I don't blame people for trying to make money in the industry. Go for it. But you can see through it a lot. This one was originally made for Danny and I to play on the road with our gigs. That was why we made it. It's useful. And I think people can see through that. One of our favorite products is the big fat snare drum, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. And the one reason they're so successful is because it's just useful. It's a neat thing. The price point's good, all that good stuff. Marketing's good, yada, yada. But at the end of the day, at its core, it's a useful product.
And it's musical.
Yeah. It's musical.
Extremely. Studio.
I'm not a studio guy. I mean, I love touring. I love the frenetic energy of anything can happen on stage. Remember earlier when I said I'm not very patient? So the studio requires patience and precision, and I'm just not wired that way. I'll do it, and I enjoy being in the studio with my band when I'm working, when I'm playing. I like it. I don't love it. So the one word would be a means to an end. But for a lot of people, including some people in my band, touring is a means to an end. But for me, I love to tour and I like the studio.
Gotcha. Yeah. Live.
Best. Anything goes, man. I love it.
Arena.
Hopeful. One day.
Club.
The best. Like we love the club dates.
Yeah.
Oh man, I remember we had just finished playing. We did the O2 Arena in London. This is for a big country fest thing. So this big, huge arena thing, and played, and it was fine. There's so much kickback, and the sound was weird, and all that. It's just like overwhelming. And then a few hours later, we played an after party upstairs in this pub. It could fit maybe 60 people. And it felt like original Delta Rae days. We just finished playing this big thing, and then here we are playing. We were like, the guitar neck was in my face. Grant's bass was like about to hit me, and my kick drum was scooting around. Everything was falling apart, and we were having a blast.
Sounds like Woody's in Raleigh.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot like it was like, and hold about the same number of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, those are always fun.
I love it.
I will say the one thing about the larger spaces vocally, it's like butter.
Sure.
It's great, great singing through one. But then again, it's the instruments. Things get nuts very quickly.
True. Very true.
Yeah. Couple more for you. North Carolina.
That's home.
Nashville.
Home for now. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. I just got here, so.
I think I asked Adamo this, but Lincoln Theater.
Oh, that's like home base, man. Love Lincoln Theater. Yep. Feel really at home there. I mean, I played there all the time.
Last one. Pizza.
Oh, I have to have a word. The original Ray's in New York.
Yeah. Is Ray's in Brooklyn?
They might have one. I don't know. But there's a couple of different Rays,
Right.
Like the original one that's in Manhattan.
Right.
Yeah, man.
Future plans for you as far as
getting out of this,
extrapolate.
Quarantine. Yeah. Quarantine. Well, for hopeful stuff like for Delta Rae, we want to get back on the road. We're going to release the Dark album, and Eric just did a podcast with Pat Monahan from Train a couple of weeks ago, and he's a big supporter of the band. We just did the Train cruise a few months back.
Cool.
And he was like, "Hey, let's do a Delta Rae Train tour next summer." So hopefully that happens, and I can answer your arena question a little differently. But we're taking this all one day at a time. But for the future, we want to get our music heard by as many people as possible. And we've learned that this industry, dude, is a marathon, not a sprint. And we do believe the best days are ahead of us. So we're going to keep on putting the music out and dealing with it during this quarantine, keep our heads above water, and come out strong.
That's a great perspective. It's really insightful. Last question for you. I asked this to everybody. And by the way, thanks again for taking the time. This was great.
Pleasure. Glad it worked out.
If you could go back in time to your 15-year-old self, knowing what you know now, what would you tell him?
Oh, man. Ooh, that's a great question. And I actually haven't thought about that too much. I've heard people ask that a lot. I've never thought about it for myself. But I would probably say, I would say you are not as good as you think you are. And that's probably what I would say. Because at 15, I was starting to get the arrogant streak. And I had no business thinking that at all. Like, stay humble. I would say, you're not as good as you think you are. That's probably what I would say. I wouldn't say it's going to be great. You're going to be bald and on tour. But it would be just like, I would be like, you little shit, you're not that good, dude. That's probably what I would say.
Right.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's good shit.
Yeah. What would you say?
Yeah. So many things. Somebody else returned the question on me the other last week or whichever. We've shot like 15 of these in the last week. Trying to think. What I said then is probably different to what I'd say now.
Right. Sure.
Just thinking about it in the last week, but I guess right now I would say, kind of similar to what you just expanded on. I'd say you have no idea what you're getting yourself into. Which is kind of funny because I had a mentor of mine tell me
everybody's
that.
going to tell you. Everybody says that,
Right.
You're not going to listen to that. Also, what do you do with that information? You can't brace yourself for that.
No. No, I would say, it's going to require patience. It's going to require, um, yeah, I mean, don't, just try and do things, I guess, more synergistically speaking, because at that time I was really gung ho about learning the process and being able to do everything on my own and being
Yeah,
resourceful like that. So I don't know. It's give and take, because without doing that and kind of isolating myself and and going through that process, I wouldn't have learned
sure.
the things that I've learned.
That, exactly.
So I
Exactly.
don't know, man, but I guess it would probably be, have more fun, like kind of get in a little bit of trouble, because I was one of those kids that was very, very like
Straight and
hard
narrow.
worker, and I'm still a workaholic. So probably like, yeah, just have a little bit of patience, cut back a little bit more, have some more fun, and
I think one of the best pieces of advice I heard was early on in Delta Rae's career. So Ian, one of our songwriters, he worked for an author named Reynolds Price, who was a pretty well-known Southern author.
yeah,
And he said, people are going to love you for the same reason other people hate you.
interesting.
And that, which is another way of saying be yourself. But be
Mm,
yourself is kind of a cliche. But when you say like people, if you put something out there, I was just listening to the daily podcast, a piece on Weird Al, and he just did what Weird Al does. He just did his thing, and some people gravitated towards it. Some people said, "No, this is awful." But whenever Delta Rae does the thing that's like the most natural to us, people respond to it like they love us for that, and then there's gonna be a lot of haters.
right.
But if but the things that we put out that are more acquiescing to try to appease radio or appease whoever, it doesn't strike a chord with anybody, the haters or the lovers. But when you put out something that you believe in, and it's divisive, it's actually good, because good art should be divisive. So people are
That's
going to
great.
love you for the same reason other people hate you. That's what I would tell the 15-year-old me. And then I would say, practice, you little shit. You're not that good.
That's fantastic. Do you have any last words besides that?
Last words. Hopefully these are not my last words.
Right.
Hopefully I'll live a long time. No, I think that's a good note to end on. Because you can only say be yourself so many times, especially in an industry that's requiring you to change and to look or sound or act a certain way. And you should listen to the consultants, like if you're to a degree, but we wouldn't have the Billie Eilishes of the world, nor would we have the Bob Dylans of the world. I think they create weird stuff that can really move the needle and put the finger on the pulse of the zeitgeist of whatever it's happening, because the people that are creating really important art are not ones just trying to paint by numbers. You might get successful for a little while, but I don't think it has much longevity. Bottom of the River is still one of our strongest songs, and it's weird as hell. It's an a
Right.
cappella gospel song sung by a bunch of white people. It's just odd, uh, and it's about a witch trial / exorcism. And nothing about it's commercial. Nothing about it is like by the books. It's just an oddball song, but people resonate with it, and some people hate it, but some people love it.
What an analysis.
Yeah,
That's great, man.
man.
Well, thanks again. As you take a swig, and I'll
Yeah.
take one on our way out here.
Pure
Strong,
vodka.
it's a strong shit, man.
Yeah, man.
Real.
Thanks for having me. And looking forward to. I'll spread this out and everything, and get the word out for the show.
Absolutely. Thanks.
You can find, if you go, actually all my stuff, if you want to just one more site, MikeMcKeeDrummer.com, you can have links to all of my crazy adventures.
So yeah, send me an email with all of the links, and we'll make sure everything's locked in.
Will do.
Well, you guys have been watching or listening to the Jason Damico show. Thank you so much. Check out Mike's stuff, and we will see you on the next one. Stay safe, kids. Peace.
Yeah.